education and go on, you guys go on to middle school, it's similar when you combined. So, at Akron, we have belief statements that we live by every day with our staff and our parents, our community. This is something that will be available to you, so you don't have to copy this down word for word. But this is stuff we try to, get to our students and help them develop as they are going through our elementary school, and they'll have that foundation for when they go to that next level, which would be the middle school. And so these are taught within our school in different areas as the teachers are teaching in their classrooms, or if you remember Mrs. Miller is our school counselor, she does a lot of the character ed stuff within classrooms also. So you can see this is what we believe in at Akron, and this is what our goals are to what we want to accomplish with all of our students there. And we share this with our parents also. So we had this, and I think I got my helper here. These signs, this came from the high school. They made a bunch of signs like this. And if you ever look in Akron, we have a lot of these hanging up that just has what our expectations are. And they're very simple. Be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. And those are hanging everywhere. And it has our pledge on there. What we want our kids to pledge to do all that. And that is started on the very first day of school. And when you guys break up into your groups, I will give you a piece of paper that has what my next slide is going to be. Thank you, helper. This is where we expect our expectations to take place. Everywhere here, on the playground, respectful, safe, responsible. And all three of those cover all of these areas. And on the first day of school, I don't know if you remember, but we would do stations. And we would divide you up, and maybe 5th grade would go to the playground. We'd have an adult out there talking about those 3 expectations and how we expect you to behave out on the playground. The same with the restrooms, the computer lab, the buses. And you got to think it's kind of funny to think restroom, but boy, we get, especially kindergartner kids, that is the place where they don't know sometimes how to count real well. So instead of just hitting the paper towel dispensers twice, they hit it 100 times, and you got this big roll of paper towel. Well, we want to talk to them about being responsible and only taking as much as you need. Soap dispenser in there. Sometimes we'll go in, and there will be like a volcano of soap on the sink because they just keep pressing it because it's pretty cool because it comes out white, it hits the surface, turns blue. It's pretty cool. And we have to teach them this because they haven't been there yet. But we do it every year, and sometimes by the time you're in 5th grade, you think, why are we doing this again? But it's just to remind, and that's something in elementary school, you just have to keep going over and over and over until it gets stuck in their heads. We talk about, I shared this story on the bus, when a student is, I'll share this in just a minute, when students get in trouble in one of the areas, and the teachers or whoever sends them to me, the first question I ask that student, I don't yell, at first, maybe if they're not listening, I might need to get their attention, but usually all I have to say is, what did you break? Which one of our school expectations did you break? And if they say, I wasn't, my first question is, what are our 3 B's? And they'll tell me. And then I'll say, which one did you break? And then they'll tell me. They're pretty good because they know we get disappointed when they break up one of those. And they basically tattle on themselves. And, that way we break it up and we put it onto them, the responsibility of they broke one of our expectations of character education. And just an example of the bus where they kind of ratted themselves out. I had a bus driver call in to me, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that said I have, it was like 7 to 10 kids, elementary kids, that got in trouble on this one bus. And in the morning from shuttling over to the elementary. And he said, there's just a ton of paper on the floor. I'm tired of all this paper. I've told them over and over again. And I asked them to stay and help me, and they wouldn't. And I said, if you don't stay, I'm going to talk to Mrs. Mills. They wouldn't stay. So they came to my office and I interviewed them one-on-one, and I asked them, you know, what are our 3 B's? What one did you break? Well, the first kid, safety. Really? Safety on the bus. I'm thinking paper and safety, that doesn't go hand in hand here, but I wasn't going to say anything what the bus driver told me. I thought, okay, so what's the safety rule that you broke? I thought it was going to be like jumping on the seat, turned around, talking, whatever. No. They had, and let me tell you something, this was a kindergartner. They had taken the heater that's underneath the seats that blows out the hot air on your buses. They had taken that plate off and taken the filter out of that heater. These are little guys. And stuffed tons of paper. That's why there's paper on the bus, on the floor. Stuffed it in there because they wanted to see if it'd start a fire. Really, you really did. You broke a safety violation there. So that's kindergarten, guys. So, yeah, so like I said, I didn't really have to pry. The bus driver didn't know that was going on. I had to contact him and let him know that's why the paper is on the floor, because they're stuffing it into there. They told, because, you know, I just basically said, what are those 3 B's that you broke? And he said, you know, kindergarten, it's easy to get that confession out. But even the older kids started to say the same thing, and they had not talked to each other. I pulled them in individually. So it kind of helps me with my discipline, too, where I don't have to really scream and yell and do that. I just really can talk to them. So I'll give you a paper on this and break it down kind of what we talk about, and that might help you as you're trying to think of a presentation to give in your group. We do have, if you have gone to Akron, we do have flyer dollars. Like I said, Mentone does the Bulldog Bucks. And these are, try to pass these around the second class, but these are some things that we do for good behavior and negative behavior. Have one if you want for your group or for yourself. Now, if you notice on both, they have our 3 B's listed on the positive and on the negative. And so that way, the kids see that. They know that this is what, you guys are going to write some of those out, aren't you? Then they know, and they can, when this comes to me, I can know, okay, this child's getting this flyer dollar because they were being responsible. And then the person that gives the flyer dollar writes out why, and then they bring one of the copies down, put it in our beehive, and then on Monday, we draw out so many names out of the beehive, and they get a prize. And they think that's a really, really big thing. And if I forget, if I'm not there on a Monday, then I'll have lots of little messages saying that I forgot, reminding me, because they like to get these, and they like to get the prizes. Also, what happens is they save these up, and notice if these come in copies of 3. One goes home to the parents to let them know how good they did. One comes to our beehive, and one stays in the classroom. So once they get all the ones in the classroom, twice a year we open up a store in our gym, and they get prizes, bigger prizes, that they can use these as money to buy things. And they like to do that. We do that after each semester. So one in the middle of the school year and one at the end. Now the discipline ticket, that's for negative behavior, and again, it lists our 3 B's. The person circles that, lets me know what the behavior was, and they have to sign it. You notice on this one, the student has to sign it so they know why they're getting this, and they've been read to. But on the discipline ticket, they need 3 before they come down and see me. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody gets caught doing something they shouldn't, and I don't want to see them every single time. They get 3, and then they come down to me. So that's how we do the discipline ticket for negative behavior. But again, they know what those expectations are, and these are what they're listed on both. They're listed on both, so they know what they've broken. All right. And then this is just our pledge, and it was on that sheet that you had. The Akron pledge is at the bottom, and again, it's just repeating that. You know, everyone is to be respectful, responsible, and safe. And these guys see that day in and day out, and their teachers stress that over and over again. Even the custodians and the cafeteria staff, the aides that work with the kids, they all know this, and they know, you know, that's what we live by at Akron, to get them ready for that next step at the middle school. One of your groups asked me, what is maybe the #1 thing you work on at Akron? And I would have to say respect, because anymore, a lot of kids just, sometimes home life, they don't get that respect at home for themselves. They're not seeing that. And so now it's left up to us at school to teach them how to give themselves respect, give others respect. And that's probably the #1 thing that I see that we have to work at. Another question came from earlier group was, what is the #1 grade that shows the least respect in your building? What would you guys think would be the worst grade? That would show fifth grade? That's what they, which grade? Yeah, which grade would show least respect for teachers, friends? Third grade is this year. Whoever said third. Last year, I would have said 5th grade. It depends on the group of kids. Last year, I think our 5th grade could be very disrespectful to each other, to adults. This year, I would have to say my 3rd grade is struggling with respect. And so, and you know, the biggest thing that causes that is girl drama in 3rd grade. Crazy. But we deal with a lot of girl drama. And so, you know, so when people write up these discipline tickets, and I start to look at a trend of where's it mostly coming from, then I can focus on how we want to fix that. And so our school counselor can come in and do stuff. The teachers know where to direct their lessons towards, and if I need to deal with it, I can talk to these girls or these guys that are showing not a lot of respect to each other, and we do more lessons in that area. So that's just something, I think the #1 thing we try to work on at the elementary is that respect piece. The others kind of come hand in hand, because as they mature, they get responsible, usually. You know, a 5th grader is more responsible than a kindergartner. We don't have to check bags as much in 5th grade as we do in kindergarten. Safety, nobody really wants to get hurt or cause somebody to get hurt, so that's an easier one. But respect is a hard one, and I would say that's where we work on the most. All right. So what you're going to do now is get into your groups, and when you have questions, I'll come around to each group and you can ask me those questions. I'll try to answer those.